Search for answers in Mississippi after the death of 18-year-old Nolan Wells, authorities recovering a body believed to be the teen. Investigators and volunteers from the Cajun Navy spent the weekend urgently searching for Wells after he vanished from Horn Island on July 4th.
Nolan Wells was on a boat. He left from a private dock area in the Ocean Springs area and proceeded with his friends to Horn Island.
Nolan Wells was just 18 years old when his body was found. His mother posted this video on TikTok just one day ago, asking for help locating her son. This is a heartbreaking story that leaves us with way more questions than answers. Online,
I'm not buying the "we thought he caught another ride" BS. I'm not doing it. He came with y'all, he should have left with y'all. Y'all also had his phone too, so make that make sense. Of course, here comes people saying, oh, it's not about race. No, but it is. Why is it the fact that the one black teen that went out with a whole bunch of white boys is the only one to show up deceased? For these white friends of his to say that they don't know what happened to him and they can't remember is a little off-putting. I'm not buying anything that they're selling.
My mama always told me if you the only birthday candle at the birthday party, 9 times out of 10 you ain't there for the party and you there as the present. Huh? My mama always told me, if you the only birthday candle at the birthday party, you not there for the birthday party, you there to be the present. Huh? Nolan Wells and this whole entire thing down there in Mississippi look fishy. One of the boys' mama is a judge down there. Though nobody know what happened, now all of a sudden a body's been found to presume to be his. His mama, Nolan Wells, is online saying she want answers, which means she crying out to the world because she don't believe nothing Mississippi say, which she should.
now look, many are weighing in online, but then there was this. Take a look. Here's what we know. Wells, 18, had been celebrating with friends on Horn Island. He was last seen at 3 p.m. with Cajun Navy Incident Commander Josh Gill claiming that he was, quote, hanging out with a girl. He did not return on the same boat as his group of friends. There were many agencies that were searching for Wells, including the Coast Guard, Department of Marine Resources, and Gulf Islands National Seashore. At this juncture, authorities said they suspect Wells drowned, but are still investigating. There are certainly a ton of chatters, a ton of people through various social media platforms, basically questioning the motives at play. Now, locally, Josh Ledbetter, Jackson County Sheriff, told ABC News, and I do quote, "The friends left Horn Island and went back without Nolan. From what we understand, he chose to stay there." Some users are even comparing Nolan's situation to this.
Pamela Horsford was at a birthday party and she was the only person of color amongst her friends. She was a wife and a mother of 5, and she was found dead in her friend's front yard. Her friends told law enforcement that she fell off of the balcony, presumably drunk, and just died. The friends were never formally questioned, and medical examiners ruled it death by suicide. And to this day, Tamla has never received any justice. Nolan Xavier Wells, only 18 years old, went on a boat on the 4th of July with his friends. He was the only person of color within his friend group. Nolan was also the only person to not make it back to land. His friends claim that he just vanished and they don't remember or know anything that happened. But park rangers found Nolan's body on the northern west tip of Horns Island where they were boating. 2 people of color who have suspiciously died while being the only person of color within their friend group. I want to know what really happened on that boat.
Meanwhile, Nolan's mother would issue the following
Shalom. This fair use. Copyright disclaimer. I am using this clip of this video to edify. All right, educational purposes. My video is not monetized at all. All right. Shalom, giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rahahakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, pushing this doctrine of truth to the elect of the nation of Israel, who were scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, pursuant to the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28. All right, I've been meaning to do a lesson on this Nolan situation. It's unfortunate that the brother had to go out this way, but this is the judgment of the Lord, of course. We know, well, I can't say definitively, but I'm pretty sure this brother heard about the Hebrew Israelites and heard about, what we taught in the way of, warning our people who our enemies are. And the Edomites are at the top of the list. Okay? If you knew who your enemy was, you would know to stay away from your enemy. All right? And this is biblical. This is biblical. All right? And this warning, if it had been heeded by this kid Nolan, or this young man, he'd still be alive. Okay? And there are a lot of Jakes just like him that refuse to heed the warning about who your enemy is. Okay? And another disclaimer, not all people who look like this are Edomites. Okay? We got brothers in various camps that look like this gentleman here, and they're actually Israelites. They just happen to have the same skin color. And we know our people are under the curses of Deuteronomy, so we've been scattered into all nations. So our people are going to come looking like all nations. All right? And that's just what it is. All right? So this is not a color thing per se, primarily. All right? But, it is what it is. It's still a reference point that we have to address. All right? But anyway, if this Jake had known that these Edomites were the enemy of righteousness, enemies of the Lord, enemies of Israel, right, they would have moved accordingly. Okay? And I always use this analogy. When an antelope is out there on, the Serengeti, right? And we know that they have many predators, from the lion to the leopard to the cheetah. All right? They stay far away from their enemy, right? By failing to do so, it can be costly. It can cost them their life, right? So they know any sign, any hint of one of the predators, apex predators out there on the Serengeti being present, and they're going to hit the pike. All right? They're going to run for their life. Okay? But conversely, you Israelites don't seem to do the same. Okay? And I'm not saying you have to run per se, but you just, you feed them with a long-handled spoon. All right? Like the old proverb, okay, says to do. You feed them with a long-handled spoon. Your enemies, people you don't trust, right? Because we have to interact with these folks. We have to deal with them, on a daily basis, pretty much. We're in captivity. We're in the land of our enemies. So what else would you expect? So you have to learn how to navigate, learn how to move throughout society accordingly. Okay? Which means no going on camping trips, no going on hunting trips, no going on fishing trips, right? Where you're the only Jake, okay? Because our people just come up missing. And when law enforcement gets involved, they don't do a thorough investigation. They automatically rule it as a suicide. Always, 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 always. These jakes that are being found hung on trees, right? They are it's ruled a self-deletion, if you know what I mean. Right? I don't want to say the S word, I already said it, but yeah, it's always ruled a self-deletion. All right, so I was looking. Here it is. I found it. Okay. Anyway, so the circumstances around this, the murder or homicide, I'm gonna call it what it is, because he didn't just jump off a boat and decide he's not going back with his friends. It's absurd. That's the most ridiculous story I ever heard. Why would he stay on the island? Right? Why would he give his cell phone away to one of his friends? Right? You would think he would have said, hey, I'm going to stay here, give me my phone just in case. Right? Why would they have his phone on their possession? Turns out I was watching another video. It says that they didn't turn in his cell phone. They kept it on their person, and his mom, I guess he had a cell phone finder or locator on his phone, and his mother located the phone and tracked it or traced it to one of the three young men, one of the Edomites. Right? So if that doesn't look suspicious to you, I don't know what does anymore. Because I guarantee you, if the roles were reversed, right, if there were three Israelite men with an Edomite man, and they took that same boat trip to that island, Horn Island, and the three Jakes left without him, and the Edomite, turned up missing or dead, I guarantee you those three Israelite men would be they would have been in the interrogation room up until this day. That happened on the 4th or 5th of July, right? They'd still be in the interrogation room today. Today is the 13th, right? And they probably would have arrested them at some point, because the story just not making sense. There's a lot of holes missing, or holes in the story that just doesn't add up, doesn't make any sense, right? So that's a reasonable suspicion, or reasonable, what I'm trying to say. It would be reasonable to incarcerate them based on, the circumstances around this cat's disappearance and subsequent murder. All right? He didn't just jump off the boat on his own. Okay? And they just automatically rule it a drowning. Now, we know that the mother is the mother of one of those kids, or young men. They're not kids. They're grown-ass men. Is a judge. Right? So she's pulling all kinds of strings. You know full well that's automatic immunity for an Edomite. Okay? Automatic immunity. Okay? Now, I would go so far as to say that the skin color, all right, by virtue of the skin color, that's automatic immunity, all right, because no Edomite law enforcement official or judge really wants to ever take the word of Jake, okay? Even when they're wrong, they're right in the minds of Edomites, okay? When they commit homicides, right, and crimes against a Jake, it's always minimized. It's always swept under the rug. It's always dismissed. It's always overlooked, right? This is what they do. When it comes to prosecuting these folks, they always either get a slap on the wrist or just get exonerated altogether. Which brings me to my first scripture, okay? And this is the book of Psalms, chapter 73. Verse 5, and that privilege that you Edomites talk about not having, right? This is it. This is the privilege that's talked about. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. Right, you're not in trouble. You're not in legal trouble as other men because you create the laws, right? You create these laws and you always make sure that you benefit from the laws you create, all right? Whereas the Israelite man is always persecuted, always disenfranchised, always singled out, always mistreated, okay? There's no such thing as fair and equitable justice for an Israelite, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, all right? I've seen it time and time and time again. Neither are they plagued like other men. Y'all don't have social issues or problems because you run every damn thing. You have automatic credibility, okay, by virtue of your status, all right? By virtue of the fact that you have the blessing by the Lord of the sword, right? So you were able to conquer, colonize, kill, destroy, to the point where you are uplifted on the world stage as that guy, as him, right? And you never have to answer to any of your crimes, okay? You can just say something to justify doing what you did, and everybody's okay with it. All right, and this is another perfect example of it. How the hell is it that these young men weren't interrogated by law enforcement? How the hell is it that they're still out free? All right, how is it? How do you explain them having left their friend in the afternoon, right, when they knew, okay, if he's missing, well, we got to find him. We're not leaving this island until we find him. That's the attitude or approach I would take if it were my friend, okay? If it was one of my friends, no way in hell I would have left that island, okay? And if we couldn't have found him by the time it was time to leave, we would have called, or I would have called law enforcement, okay? And I still wouldn't have left until law enforcement arrived and did a thorough search for my friend, okay? But they just went home. They didn't call anybody, right? They said the next day they were having breakfast amongst each other. They deleted their social media, right? And then they all retained attorneys. Why would they do that? This is the devil that the Bible speaks of. Verse 6, therefore pride compasseth them as a chain. Violence covereth them as a garment. See, these are violent, inherently violent people. Okay? You hang out with them, you piss them off, because you saw in the video, they said that they got in a heated argument. So he said something to piss him off, or he was messing with one of the women, pissed them off, rubbed them the wrong way, and the young Israelite man ends up deceased because of it, right? See? And because they have the status that they have, right, and it's protected, it causes them to be even more prideful because they know they can get away with it. They can commit violence. They can commit all manners of evil and wickedness against you Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and not get punished for it. And if you do get punished, it's always a slap on the wrist. They don't value the life of an Israelite man or woman, for that matter, okay? And that's just what it is, all right? When you call these devils out about it, they get angry, they get upset, they get defensive, and they'll tell you it's not true. They don't have privilege, right? Their eyes stand out with fatness. That's their blessing, right? They have more than their heart could wish, right? Opportunity, abundance, right? Riches, wealth, affluence. Again, social credibility. They're at the top of the social hierarchy, right? They get away with all kinds of crimes against humanity, atrocities, right? Everybody has a bleeding heart for the Edomite even when they do wickedness, right? When that kid, Dylan Roof, shot up the church, and he told the law enforcement officers that were there to arrest him that he was hungry and he wanted to go to Burger King, well, they took him there. And he enjoyed a tasty meal. I mean, this is the nature of the devil. You can't be surprised. This is what these wicked demons do. They're demons. They don't have a conscience, right? They do not have a conscience whatsoever. Okay, and they get off on making your life miserable as an Israelite. They are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression. Right? What's the number one thing they say? Right? Or one of the more common things they say is, you're not oppressed. You live in the most powerful country on this earth. Yeah, but we are oppressed by the oppressor. Right? Just look at the money. Right? Look at this case. Look at this case. This young Jake. Right? Disappearing and then being found deceased. And they automatically rule it as a drowning. They don't suspect foul play because it's them that could be implicated as to doing evil. Like I said, if the roles were reversed, all three Jakes would probably be in jail right now. Okay? No way in the world they would let these Jakes, walk around free men, even now. Okay? They set their mouth against the heavens, against Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and their tongue walketh through the earth. Okay? With their philosophy, their ideologies, right? Their hatred, their vitriol, their bigotry, right? They spew it throughout the four corners of the earth. Their feminism. Because they are, as a nation, anti-Hamashiach, or as they would say, a Christian would say, antichrist. They are. They have the spirit of anti-Hamashiach, because the Lord's name ain't no goddamn Christ. Okay? Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 12, verse 10. Because you Israelites are going to learn one day. All right? When we progress into Jacob's trouble, you are going to see why the Bible says not to trust these devils. Okay? Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. All right? This says never trust your enemy. Who are the enemies of the Israelites? The Edomites. They're the wicked. All right? They're the devil that the Bible speaks of. They're Satan. All right? And see, a Christian didn't know that there's a nation of people, literally, referred to as Satan as a collective. All right? There's a nation of people collectively known as the devil. All right? This is not talking about spiritual Satan. This is talking about the wicked. All right? And it's spelled out in the book of Malachi, chapter 1, verse 4. Right? So it didn't say sometimes don't trust the enemy, the Edomites. It says never, ever, under any circumstances, don't you trust these devils. Don't be taking your ass on no hunting trips with these devils. Don't be going on no boat rides or fishing trips with these devils. For like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Okay? And we know that iron will rust, given the ideal circumstances, right? It will rust. The rust will grow. Okay? And this is how the wickedness grows on the Edomites. It just grows over time. The older they get, the more wicked they become. The more hateful, the more violent, the more vile they become. Though he humble himself and go crouching, okay, because they are pros or masters of humbling themselves, okay, or making it look like they're humbling themselves. All right, and they'll crouch, make themselves look lower. That's to humble themselves, right? So you'll trust them. Yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass. And thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away, right? You can't wipe away that wickedness. It's always there, and it's always growing. It's always intensifying. Right? And it's always going to be manifested towards you Israelites. This is not something they can contain. They can keep to themselves. They have to show their hatred for you. Right? They have to make it known. Let it be known. They have hatred for you. Set him not by thee. Keep these devils away from you at all costs. That's what that means. Lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand. There's no such thing as a right hand man Edomite. Okay? Never let them sit at your right hand, or your left hand for that matter. Okay? That's what this is saying. Lest he seek to take thy seat, because they will seek to uproot you. Okay? This is the nature of the beast. And thou at the last remember my words, and be pricked therewith. Right? Be pricked by these words. It's truth. Okay? Remember these words. All right? You don't just let them go in one ear and out the other. All right? This should teach you how to navigate through the world. This should guide or govern the way you move in society. Stay away from these devils, or feed them with a long-handled spoon. Okay? Because you can't avoid them. They run every goddamn thing. They own every goddamn thing. Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beasts? If you keep messing with these devils, eventually you're going to get bitten. All right? That's what this is saying. Okay? And no one is going to pity you because you should have known better. You should have heeded this warning here. Okay? This is in the Bible. One time, this was a part of the Bible before who? The Edomites. These people we're talking about, telling you to stay away from, they're the ones who removed it from the Bible. The Edomites. The enemy. Right? Real quick, let's go to the book of Psalms, because it says the Edomites are the enemy of the Israelites, along with the heathen nations, the rest of the heathen nations. All right? Yahweh implored to confound his enemies. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, the Israelites, and have consulted against thy hidden ones, the hidden ones of the Israelites. Our identity has been stripped from us. Right? They started calling us black and Puerto Rican and Mexican. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. Who had the power to do that? The Edomites. Because they run the world. They control every goddamn thing. That they name, that the name of Israel may no more be in remembrance. Right? And it's no longer in remembrance in the world. We know who we are now. The prophecy says that we would be endowed with the Holy Spirit and stand on our feet as a spiritual army in the last days. And that's what you're seeing happening in real time as we speak. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. All right? And who's against thee? Who's against the nation of Israel? Well, it goes down the list. And who's at the top of that list? The tabernacles of Edom, the Edomites, and the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gebal, Ammon, Amalek, the Philistines, and the inhabitants of Tyre, who are descendants of Hamites. Okay, but who's at the top of that list? The Edomites. The people running the world these days. The people running Babylon the Great. Okay, and other nations in the world. Okay, so yes, we have enemies. They're Edomites and the rest of the heathen nations. And if you don't heed this warning, right, you're going to get caught up and taken out by these devils, because Jacob's trouble has already begun, and it's going to intensify. All right? And you better know who your enemy is. You better know who not to trust. Okay? Because your life will depend on it. All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai. Shalom.